Hi everyone. That was my sound check. That is how I make sure the sound is working. So if you could all hear that, wonderful. That is how I make sure the sound is working. Is I usually play a song just to adjust it and make any changes. Um, yes, Bronze. I will hurriedly urban back. I will not do exercises during this panel though because I don't want to interrupt it too much. In the meantime, what is Fallout Equestria? We're going to be here talking about it. Now I'm going to go ahead and warn everybody who's here right now. Uh, This is not a fandom for what I would call the faint of heart. Any Fallout Equestria novel or book or fan fiction, I would at least rate T for teen. Most of them I would rate, you should be 18 before you read this because even though it may not contain what would be explicitly NSFW content, it will contain some pretty hard stuff to deal with. This includes PTSD, extreme violence. I have never read a Fallout Equestria, including Pink Eyes, that I would be like, this is okay to read to a child. No, do not do that. Um, but anyway, who the heck am I? I am Fiaura, the tank girl. The left-hand side is my pony that I write. This is an original character. And on the right is my official character. Yes, there are two meanings for the word OC. On the right, you will see my bird, my wonderful, wonderful laboratory bird. I was Queen Quake at BabsCon up until this year, apparently. Um, and I make an existence on the internet as an openly trans person who streams and writes books. I write Fallout Equestria books, and I also write now furry science fiction. And as of last week, um, and after this panel, I will be publishing a new chapter of this. I also write Final Fantasy fan fiction now, apparently. I've never played a Final Fantasy game in my life. I have no idea what I'm doing. um, the Fallout Equestria live stream ended in August last year, sadly. But Dead Tree is a legal parody. Those of you on Twitch will find me holding up something very important. Now, I'm not going to display the full thing because at the bottom is my legal name and my address, so I'm going to keep that last page folded. This is a certification registration number for copyright. And you will notice it says Fallout Equestria Dead Tree. I've had this since 2018. Um, so it is a legal parody as far as the US government is concerned, as is all of Fallout Equestria, and is therefore protected under parody law. So we're going to talk about a few things concerning Fallout Equestria. We're going to talk about what timing had to do with making it as big as it is. It is strangely one of the biggest sub-fandoms in existence and considered widely the most well-known fan fiction outside of bad fan fictions on the internet. We're going to talk about how the emergence of the internet into mainstream from just being a specialized tool also helped it. We're going to talk about how the story helps it. We're going to talk about why there are branching off stories because I checked this morning, there are 2,700 plus Fallout Equestria stories on FanFiction right now. I have read far too many of them. And I just had the occurrence in my mind to go, you should probably be keeping track of how many hours of your life have been devoted to reading Fallout Equestria stories to make sure you're not stepping on anyone's toes. I would estimate I have more time reading Fallout Equestria stories than I have time playing RimWorld, and I have over 1,000 hours in RimWorld. That I might have a problem. We're going to talk about what are considered the big seven side stories, how each one impacts the general setting. These are considered the closest thing to Fallout Equestria canon as possible. And then we're going to talk about it continues past the end of MLP and why Fallout 76 still somehow the setting is really popular. Also, the new Fallout show helps it a lot, strangely. Because when the new Fallout show came out, I sold 50 books. I was shocked. People found my books because of a Fallout TV show on Amazon. And then we're going to have some Q&A time, hopefully. So, everybody with me? Everybody good? Let me check here. Make sure I don't have any immediate questions to answer. Yeah. Yes, that's the wiki. Murky number 7 is Gut Punch Heart Stab the story. I advise reading it one chapter at a time, and just Patty, you should just look up Fallout Equestria Bible and just get a Bible. That's my best advice to you. Um, there's let me put the thing in front of that so it's a hyperlink. There's where I post my books. I didn't make it in time to be a vendor this year, so just don't have a vendor thing. Anyway, that appears all the questions from there. I will always be Queen Quick. Oh, you're sweet, Bronze. I've read so many of them and just not enough. Yeah, Fallout 76 doesn't feel like a Fallout game. So, at the time when Fallout Equestria came out, if we use the wonderful tool that is the Wayback Machine, I'm not going to use it live on stream because sometimes it takes hours to load. Uh, FanFiction.net was mostly shipping and porn. I did a statistical analysis and it came out to something like 92% of everything on fanfiction.net was either shipping or porn. That was it in 2011. That was all that existed on fanfiction. I'm just like, wow, okay. Um, an important fact of writing a story is not setting out to be famous. You just want to write a story. That's how writers write good stories. They're not setting out to be famous. You're writing for an audience of one. That's how I write my stories. I write what I want to read and then hand it to other people to read. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they get upset. This is also at a time when Fallout New Vegas was still releasing DLC. So that helped. And Fallout as a brand was becoming like a mainstream thing because of access to Nexus mods. Those of you who don't know, Nexus mods basically allowed Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas to be vastly expanded. Forbidden mods included in this effort made it where like people who were playing New Vegas got a whole lot more than they bargained for in some cases, entire DLC packs worth of expansion. And Obsidian Entertainment was actively trying to program around not breaking everyone's mods. Then Bethesda said, no, screw that, and started pushing out updates that break everyone's mods. I'm looking at you, Bethesda, with Fallout London. That was not cool. That was unnecessary, and you know it. Um, During this time, also, the MLP show was on a prolonged hiatus. This is because of creator versus producer conflicts that were going on. This is why we got a short season 3 instead of a full season 3. But then the show during this time and during this deliberation had an SFM leak and a flash leak. Oh, oh, we're just gonna have this. And so we ended up with a few things that came to light, that still come to light. See, when you have SFM characters, you need a way to produce them uh, without getting copyright strikes on YouTube. Huh? No, I have an artist who's trying to get my attention, and it is the wrong time to be getting my attention, artist. Um, and so you need a way to get around copyright. And I'm now going to play a couple of SFM videos that came out during this time. So let's switch over to that and switch over to that down here. There we go. So this is one of the latest ones that came out, but this is the same SFM model that was used for pre-Alicorn Twilight, now used for a
The
little
secret
bit.
to pony magic, bullets.
Just a quick little funny thing. There's a couple of others I'm going to play that are more serious, but because of these models that got leaked and these Flash assets that got leaked, we got animations. Some of them official, but some of them using official characters, but it was found that we could use Fallout Equestria characters, and no one complained. because you can't copyright strike a character you don't own. Although one of the defects with using such models and things is stuff like Little Pip and I want to call her Scarlet, and I know that's wrong. Velvet Remedy, that's it. And Calamity. So those two are the same model. They just had to scale Little Pip's model down, but it shows that they scaled it down. So there's just some aspects that using the same models hurts. This is one of those aspects. But you could make something wondrous. There's not a single word spoken in this entire thing, and it conveys an amazing amount of emotional gravity. And I'm playing this one because when I was writing my own FOE story, there was a point where I doubted what I was doing. I was tearing up the first 7 chapters of my story again and rewriting them. And I saw this come onto my feed while I was trying, because I play music in the background when I'm writing. Like, I have music on the music and videos on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is what I'm writing. That's just how my screen is split when I'm doing this. But this just made me stop and go, no. Go ahead. Rewrite it. You got this. So I want to thank Argo Demon personally. Like, I know Argo Demon, we talk, we rate each other's streams, but I need to thank him personally because this was perfect. It came at the right time for me, and it did the right thing for me. So thank you. And then lastly, I'm going to show you an actual music video. This is by Hero Strain, obviously, and it's like one of the few things they ever did, but they did an incredible job. And this is using SFM assets, but also using assets from Half-Life and Bethesda's own in-game creation engine to create everything you see here. Having been someone who aims down a scope, you don't aim at the person from this range, you would be aiming somewhere else beside the point. As I said, Fallout Equestria is not for people who are coming and expecting non-violence. This is a very violent setting. If you can't tell by the fully cyberized alicorn that is Blackjack. A character I personally hate, but a lot of people like, and I'm not going to argue with what you like. You do also have a blend of magic and technology, aka let's teleport in some wasteland tanks. Literally. That's a really bad idea. That's a really bad idea. And these are just some of the really cool things you can do with SFM. I usually don't let this video play for 3 minutes because I get pressed for time if I don't. But yeah, that's just some really cool things that came out with that because of this asset leak. The Bernie documentary came out, which made people realize that there were more than just you or me or your roommate who was watching this show. And lastly, we have this weird obsession when it comes to. Okay, I didn't realize that the bot was here, and I'm pretty sure my moderators are asleep like normal human beings, so I apologize for that. That's on me. Yes, I know music's overpowering my voice bronze. That's kind of the point. But let's switch back over to the panel here. Don't worry about Captain Platonic, he's for later. That's the wrong one. I know that's the wrong one. Let's switch it back over here. That's the right one. For people over on the Discord. Bird documentary came out, and also we have this really weird obsession with, cute, adorable things and murdering them. I don't know why. It's a literal psychological phenomenon. For those of you who don't know, Happy Tree Friends, which is one of the most violent, horrific flash animations to ever exist, officially ended in 2022. It started in 2006. And Happy Tree Friends usually has just about everybody die in some horrific, gruesome manner. Think that 1,000 Ways to Die level horrific, gruesome manner. Um, every time. So there's that. There's that. But internet emergence is an important factor here for this to become popular. You have at a time when bronies are seeking out each other. The second BronyCon is coming up, and people are starting to connect where we have internet on our phone. Those of you who weren't around then, because I have to factor in that at this time it's 14 years old, uh, we didn't have internet on our phones until we didn't have like true internet access where we could even play like real videos on our phones until like 2006, 2007. And it didn't become easily accessible unless you had a lot of money until about 2010. But you have all of this come together to make this fandom and make this fandom accessible, understandable, and relatable to everyone in it. You also had Equestria Daily make like a big deal about the fact there was Project Horizons, and it was like, to use a phrase from Futurama, I'm gonna make a better Fallout Equestria with blackjack and hookers. And K-Cat's response, I believe, is one of the most legendary things I've ever heard someone say who is an original creator of a setting. I made the setting. I don't care what you do with it. I'm not going to canonize or uncanonize anything. Go. It's your playground now. And that was like the only time she actually spoke out about it. She was still going around to like different conventions at this time, running tabletop games for Fallout Equestria, which was picked up by some guys at Dead Tree Studio and turned into an actual system, which is what we played on live stream for 7.5 years. Just to illustrate how crazy that is. Uh, but we had this wonderful renaissance that just kept re-renaissancing itself every time a new Fallout thing would release. Fallout Equestria would suddenly become popular again for a little bit. And so it was just this weird cycle. And you still have people who would show up to BronyCon in Fallout cosplays. You like one of the most popular ones I can think of was in 2018. I stood next to a guy who was in a full Steelhoofs cosplay, which was a converted cosplay of Fallout T-54B power armor, and he was from Russia. He was from Russia. I mean, I have opinions on it too, Adagio, but at this point, like my opinions more stem from the fact that I personally don't like Somber because Somber has been a not great person to me on more than one occasion, and not fully understanding the things I was doing. And then also Somber has been an outright dick to me behind my back. So I don't necessarily like his story, but the things that he's done to me personally are personal problems, not problems I want to highlight here, Adagio. But thank you for chiming in. Um, it's a long story. It's brony drama, and at this point, it's in the past. I don't want to have to bring it up again. But let's just say, don't put Somber and I on the same panel because we fundamentally, philosophically disagree. Like from a fundamental approach to how both of us write and how both of us view the things we have written, we have a massive, jarring disagreement. So don't even put us on the same panel. We will not get along. Unless you're here to see us fight with words, at which time I'll look at you and like, what are you, crazy? Because I'm certified. Um, so the reason why Fallout Equestria works is it's not an interesting collision. Interesting collisions just don't work. What happens so many times when I see people like do crossovers is it's so focused on the crossover, on how this interacts with this, or how this changes this, or how that alters this. That's a gimmick. You need a good story. I have seen an innumerable number of crossover fan fictions that died after 5 or 6 chapters because the author did not have a story to tell. There is a reason why the Transformers MLP comic crossover was only 4 issues. Maybe 5. I'm not entirely certain, but I know it was really short. And people were surprised. They're like, don't these things usually run for 10 or 12 issues? Yes, but they don't have a story to tell. And Hasbro is deathly afraid of interfering with either universe becoming a permanent thing, so they just made this little cute thing that's completely non-canon, and they didn't have a big story to tell. They just thought it'd be cool to throw them together. Um, and but these type of projects run out of steam. They don't self-perpetuate themselves, and once the author has run the gimmick to its end, if they didn't have a story in the first place, it doesn't go anywhere. And we're going to talk more about that in the writing panel in an hour. But that's one of the biggest fundamental problems. I can take any two worlds and put them together, but if I'm not willing to alter the characters and create a story with a beginning, middle, and end first, this mishmash or monster mash or whatever you want to call it of slamming them together is not going to hold its weight in water. It's not even going to hold its weight in air. It will be a flash in the pan for me as a writer, and for people as readers, it'll be a cool thing to think about. But so, what makes FOE different? Cat set out to tell a good story first. The original Fallout Equestria starts out with the story beats from Fallout 3 being remodeled and reimagined in a way that makes them significant. So what KCAT did is they made a hero's journey, but they made a hero's journey where each section of the hero's journey has its own microcosm of hero's journey within it. Hero sets out to get something or find something or retrieve something for their area of the world. Hero discovers the world around them is more vast than they anticipated. Hero discovers the root cause of the problem. Hero is changed, altered, or otherwise becomes different because of what they've discovered. Hero returns a changed person who is no longer the person who set out on the journey originally. And by creating this hero's journey with microcosms of hero's journeys inside of that hero's journey, you create story beats that can easily be followed. Little Pip's journey is a classical hero story, but it's a classical hero story in the sense that Luke Skywalker is a classical hero story. Yes, Star Wars is a hero story, but if you take the first three movies, each of the first three movies is its own hero's journey. And the whole of them creates the whole of a hero's journey. So each of those movies individually could be watched without watching what came before or what comes after in the case of Strikes Back, and you would still be able to have a complete story. That makes a good, memorable story. If I can pick up a section of your story and read just that section out of context for what comes after and what comes before, and it makes a good story, you've made a wonderful piece of media. Every time Little Pip discovers a truth of the world, it leads to a deeper reason the wasteland requires help, and every time they fix something, something else has to be broken. There is no perfect fix for anything. That makes it beautiful, relatable, and understandable. Right now, I am streaming to you on a laptop because I put my computer in to have things fixed. This creates an imperfect world for me personally. I'm upgrading my computer to be better. But that also means the compromise for that upgrade timing being poor is that I have to work with a laptop all weekend instead of working with the big computer that would make everything easy, which is why it takes me a second to switch between what screen I'm displaying to all of you. Nope, we're not ready for that yet. And that's just a tiny microcosm in my own life. Yeah, we about to get just like we're going into the deep end here, Thermisto. Get ready. It's getting there. Yeah, a time machine sending a heroic party back in time to warn everyone what is about to happen and try to help. You're gonna you're gonna create that flawed experience on its own. The last thing here you have to remember for Fallout Equestria. Characters are never safe. Four words. In the original FOE, Steelhooves, a 200-year-old veteran ghoul in power armor who has proven to be an absolute unit of a soldier, dies in two lines. It is so sudden and so quick, it wrecks everything in your brain. Dies in two sentences. He's there 1 second and he's gone the next. And you think, oh, he's a ghoul. He'll get. No, he's dead. And it happened suddenly, quickly, and without him getting any last words or any chance to say anything or any chance to do anything. And this is one of the most important aspects of any Fallout story that's a good one. No one is ever safe. I'm looking at you, Bethesda, and looking at your god-awful immortal characters. Your essential NPC. Screw that. I need to close my door. Fallout characters should never be safe. They should never know safety. And they should never be in a position where they're invulnerable. There should always be that threat, no matter how minuscule, of their life ending. Exactly. Uh, exactly. I think that's final site. I can't tell because I'm in streamer mode, and in streamer mode it covers up your username if it's not changed for the server. Yeah, the most armored character did not have plot armor. And there are hundreds of offshoots. Hundreds. When I originally made this panel in 2017, there were only 200 long stories. Oh boy, we're about to go down a rabbit hole, y'all, and it ain't gonna be an easy one. My southernisms came out, I apologize. Fallout has a theme, and the idea is very, very intriguing to us. What if the Cold War did go hot? Where would we be now? What would be going on? How would the world have changed? I mean, Fallout itself has the retro what is it called? Ray punk is the appropriate term, where everything is retro 50s and everything is over the top, smoothed out and elongated and all these other things. And consumerism is the destruction of the world. It is, by the way. Screw capitalism. I'm totally on that train. I'm on a bunch of trains, and I'm going to try not to discuss my politics too much. Um, the offshoots as a result of Project Horizons are phenomenally all over the place. Everyone wants to tell their own story. The world is massive, and K-Cat said, "Go ahead, I don't care." K-Cat's decision to write an amazing story, give a great response, and then just walk away is legendary to me. She made something amazing and then went, "Go ahead, I don't care. I did my thing." And she watches from afar. This is how you handle death of an author. Those of you who don't know what the death of an author is this concept whereby once I publish something to you, it's no longer in my control, and I have to relinquish how you're going to interpret it. It's that simple. She recognized that she had published something. She recognized that our translations and interpretations of it are going to be different than hers. And she went, "It is not my place to police that." Looking at you, J.K. Rowling, for a variety of reasons. Um, but there are 537 long FOE stories. One of the big seven is still ongoing. I'm going to be correcting that statement momentarily because that's a big surprise for all of you here. As well as that the rules for getting your Fallout Equestria story to be moved to a major side story have changed. They're kind of loose guidelines, more like it. And there are 6 radio plays. My own radio play, I have to say, is officially canceled because I don't have the funding anymore. If I had funding, that could change. But $130 a week to produce that is expensive. So, what makes a side story a major canon side story? According to the Fallout Equestria wiki, you used to have your own Equestria Daily article. That's been removed. It must be recognized by another major side story author, KCAT, or a wiki moderator, and then voted upon by the wiki moderators. You must be able to recognize the characters in the story through artwork. And this is where some people get a little confused. Your characters cannot be lookalikes, they have to be original. So if I look up my own name on Google, I don't have to type in the Tank Girl anymore. I just look up my own name. Just the first words was all it takes. You can easily tell this is my pony. Purple eyes, two-tone mane and tail that are different colors, and she's green. Very easily able to tell that's my pony. Everybody knows what Blackjack looks like. But if you make a Blackjack look-alike, it doesn't fly. That's what I'm getting at. I have to be able to look up your character and know that is your character. I own a copy of this book, by the way. It's fantastic. Anyway, that is just something that has to be doable. So make sure you have recognizable artwork of your FOE characters and that we, as people, can easily pick out yours without having to go rummage around and debate, is that, this character or that character. You want to be able to just have them be recognized. Yeah, it doesn't include deleted stuff, but I go through the Wayback Machine, which takes regular pictures of FanFiction.net to count stories physically. And someone must will have produced a printed version of your work. Used to be this was the Ministry of Image. Due to sanctions, this doesn't happen at all anymore. Used to be the Traveling Pony Museum. They're closed. Any remaining Fallout Equestria printing is done independently by the author. When I say printed version of your story, those of you on Twitch will be able to see this. This is what I mean. Book. And books behind me are technically the most valuable version of my books because they are the actual author copies, even though one of them is slightly damaged. Um, you need to be able to print a book, even if it's only one copy. Still has to have a physical version somewhere in existence. So I'm going to explain the big 7 major side stories in 10 words or less. Some of you have already looked up on the Fallout Equestria wiki and may have noticed that this is incorrect. We're going to get to that in a moment. So Project Horizons, everyone knows me, jumping the shark. I am the longest. 10 words or less. It is 77 chapters long, plus a prologue and an epilogue. It is 1.8 million words with prologue and epilogue, and it took 18 months to complete. It is the second most prominent search result for Fallout Equestria in existence. Straight up, that's the one that everyone knows because it's the one that everyone sees. Heroes, I have no special powers. The story. It is 40 chapters long, 582,905 words, and it took 7 years to write. The author is named no one and has not written anything since or before. It is the only thing that author has ever written, and they have said is the only thing they ever will write. It's a pretty good story, too. Hey guys, cute small death ghoul finds mom. It is 134,575 words, 21 chapters long. It only took 3 months to write this one. It is the only major side story written from the perspective of a child. It also uses purely children's language. Every part of this story is written as if you were 7 years old. And it is painstakingly edited to appear to be a story written by an elementary or primary school child. It is fascinating to read it like that. And wonderful to go through it. I know Thermisto, and my last book comes out in August, which is an announcement we're going to get to shortly. Fallout Equestria Dead Tree, Fallout 4 rewritten to be good. Hashtag F. Todd Howard. Not blowing my F slur yet. It is 550,000 words with 65 release chapters. I'm actively trying to finish it by June so that I can release the book in August and it be the last one. That second book note, I forgot to change or it did not take the change, and I apologize for that. It is the only story written based on the actual events of a tabletop game, and for those who don't know, this is actually a commonplace thing to have happen. If you watch Critical Role, this is the book version of watching Critical Role. These are referred to as RPG, these are referred to as tabletop report, whereby you take a tabletop game, condense it down, turn it into a story, and then relay the story through either written medium or visual medium. Used to be you could only do it through written medium. But the point is, this is the only one that's done that way. I also have a cease and desist from ever contacting Todd Howard ever again or speaking to him ever again, aka I have been told that I am not allowed because I took a copy of my book. I used my contacts at Obsidian Entertainment to get the mailing address for Todd Howard, and I slapped a sticky note on the top of my book that said I wrote a better Fallout 4 with ponies, and I mailed it to his desk. He took offense to that. Eh? Look, sometimes you gotta rub stuff in. I have a copyright. Bethesda didn't show up to court. I won. Pink Eyes are, yes, Pink Eyes is a child of an Eldritch monster. Let's just say that out loud. Murky number 7, Gut Punch Heart Stab the Story. It is 1,092,000 words and 33 chapters. It took 4.5 years to write this. Literally finds new ways to make you cry and hate yourself. I'm going to stress this. The author of Murky number 7 talked to people who were actual trauma survivors and victims of a variety of traumas in order to write his story. He's a wonderful dude, very fun loving, very laid back. This story is hard to read. Okay? Murky's story can be described as, and then it somehow got worse. But that little green Pegasus who doesn't have any wings, yeah, you heard what I said. That was not a stutter. Pegasus who doesn't have his wings anymore seems to never give up hope. And no matter how terrible things are, it is a story in which you have to say, if you give up hope, it's over. And he refuses to say it's over. Guys of Chaos, 260,000 words. This is one that not a lot of people have heard about or know about. It's 24 chapters long, took a year to make. Author attempted a sequel and then made a blog that says, I can't write a sequel. I'm done. This story is about a raider. And it illustrates how one can come back from something utterly inhuman to learning to care again, to learning to have empathy again, to learning how to not reach for violence when violence is all you've known for so long. It feels like, I haven't actually talked to the author, it feels like this was written by a combat veteran. Just in the way in which you want to turn it off, and you fight with yourself to turn it off, and you can't ever truly disarm it. It's the shortest of the major 7 besides Pink Eyes. It's the shortest that's written from the perspective of an adult, I should say. And it's really easy to get lost in. Like, philosophically, you questioning your own morals and ethics when reading this story. Better days. I'm a Mandalorian. Oh crap, I have a heart. If you thought The Mandalorian was an original story, hey, guess what? I got news for you. This came out 10 years before the Disney's Mandalorian, and it's pretty good. Uh it's about the length, it's got more chapters, but it's about the length of Guys of Chaos. Took 19 months to write. It's the least known of any of the major side stories. And it feels generic, but that's not a bad thing when you execute it perfectly. One of the things in writing is execution. And if you can write a generic story, but it is perfectly executed story beat for story beat, it feels weird that the story's nothing fantastical or just really good. It's just like this is good enough to make me happy. I'm confused. Oh, FOE books are going to be unreasonably priced because no one is printing them anymore. Unless, you're the writer. Oh yeah, Guys of Chaos, like I found one I've only ever found one copy of it, and I wish I'd bought it when I found it. There's like a single copy that I ever saw, and it was at TrotCon in 2018. Uh, White, you may not have mature stories enabled on FanFiction, um, because it's right there. And if you're looking for a physical copy, um, I currently have them on sale. It's right there. If you buy a physical copy, not from me, by the way, I don't get any money for that. And my artists and editors don't get any royalties for that. I have to say this now before I move on to the big surprise. Um, for this panel. Uh, Last year, I had $5,000 of books stolen while they were in transit in the mail. I had to do a fundraiser to print new books. And then those books showed up on a variety of websites for sale by resellers who had purchased them from the United States Postal Service who never contacted me to tell me they had been located. So if you see one of my books, even if it's for cheaper, and buy it from them, I get no money. I never got paid for that book. And more importantly, those books are unsigned. So if you were to show up to my table at a convention with an unsigned book, I'm going to ask you where you got it. And if you tell me you got it from a reseller, I personally am going to hand it back to you and go, I can't sign this. It wasn't paid for. Um, and just explain the situation to you. I've had somebody show up at a convention at Cider Fest and hand me a book that was and asked if I could sign it. And I went, "Where'd you get this?" And they told me they got it off Etsy. And I looked at them and I handed the book back and went, "I can't sign this. It hasn't been paid for." Oh yeah, there's some of them on eBay right now. I've contacted some of the people on eBay. One person's reaction to me contacting them, instead of offering for me to buy the book back at the cost that they paid for it, was, "I'll just destroy it because I don't want to deal with this." And I'm like, that's fucked up. Anyway, big surprise. New major side story. This was at my recommendation. I recommended this one. Uh, by Sprocket. It is called The Hooves of Fate. I haven't finished reading it yet, but I do know what it's about. Uh, so there are now 8 major side stories, and next time I do this panel, I will actually have a proper slide for this one. I recommended this one in January. It got moved to being a major side story by the end of the month, which means that if that recommendations are decided on very quickly. This has its own Equestria Daily article, but more importantly, it's just a really cool story where a pre-war filly is seeing visions of the future and actively trying to change it so we don't end up with the wasteland. But everything they keep doing keeps making it where we're worse, where the dreams are getting worse and worse, and they're trying to figure out why they're having dreams of the future and why they can't seem to change the future. It's as if it's set in stone by fate. It's a wonderful story about how different threads and the butterfly effect of trying to change something to prevent something worse from happening. Time paradox. Yeah, it's stolen property, but once you get to the third person who bought it, once you have the third interchange, it's no longer stolen property. So at that point, I can't like take it back from you, but I'm not going to sign a book that was stolen from me. It's up to 69 now. Oh, that must have happened this morning, Final Sight. I did this panel last night. Oh, God. Um, and Fallout Equestria keeps going. Fallout itself as a game series has transcended three game developers, and that's just weird to say. It's now transcended four game developers technically because Microsoft owns Bethesda and by extension owns the rights to Fallout. But until like they take it away from Bethesda, it's still only has transcended three developers. We are fascinated by what would happen if the Cold War went hot, and how life would be if World War III happened. For morbid, curious human reasons, because humans are a curious bunch and can't stop their curiosity for any. Um, Fallout cosplay is really easy. MLP cosplay is colorful. Combining the two makes a bit of drab with the bright. You have to remember that in Fallout Equestria, the bright and colorful means danger against the drab gray wasteland. We want to finish our own stories. I just realized there's a misspelling here, and it's probably been here for years, and I should be embarrassed, but I'm totally not. And whether it be the author or the reader, we ourselves want. I am looking forward to playing Atomfall this either this week or next week, so that's going to be fun to do on stream. We want to finish our stories, period. And publications are happening, and Bethesda and Hasbro can't do anything due to parity protection. I had a legal case as well. That's in a different panel where I discuss how you protect your legal parities, and I won my legal case, which is why I have a copyright. Hasbro and Bethesda are powerless in this aspect. And if they ever try to not be powerless, it'll be back in court. So write your story, enjoy it. Read your story, enjoy it. Make your own artwork, have fun with it. So, um, this is all of my links. I'm actually going to exit the slideshow mode. I don't know what that's going to do. Yeah, that crashed the stream. Let me bring this back up. Do I have it? Yes, here. Where are you at? There you are. What'd that do on my OBS? Just total crash. Wonderful. We're doing a great job here today, folks. So, these are all my links to all the things I do. I basically live and breathe based on if people actually put money on Patreon. Um, and I'm going to explain them all. I abandoned the Hell website that is the Dead Bird and am over on Blue Sky, and that is the only piece of social media I have. If you see me on TikTok, if you see me on Facebook, if you see an active account for me on Twitter, they lies and slander. Instagram too. This is the only piece of social media outside of Discord that I have. Which reminds me, we have a custom Discord link as well because hey, guess what? I have an open public Discord, and there's a custom Discord link. Oh, come on. Okay, fine. I'll go get the exact thing so you will link properly because Discord is being Discord. There it is. We discuss ponies, we discuss Warhammer 40K, and we discuss a variety of other topics, and also I stream from there. There we go. But we have a custom link by sheer number of members at this point. We no longer need the boosts to have a custom link. Just going to put that in here. For Affinity, I'm publishing my original work, Here There Be Dragons, which is this novel. God damn it. Okay, I gotta prevent stuff from breaking here because my Fallout cookbook decided to try to take out all of my shit. Pardon my French, but that is incredibly frustrating. Okay, here we go. Come on. All right, Leopard Tank is safe, as is my favorite Gundam. Cool. Anyway, back to what we were doing. I think I might be able to do video here as well if I switch it to the onboard. It did not like. Hi. There's a terrible camera angle on Discord, but I will take it. Uh, anyway, so now is the part where we get to questions. You can ask anything you want. I will do my absolute best to answer. We have approximately 4 minutes before my next panel is supposed. No, we have 4 minutes before my next panel is supposed to start. So I will do my best as much as possible. I wish I was in Germany right now, Thermisto, to go to that because that would be fun. Anyway, here's my original work as I was trying to show it before I took out all the stuff behind me. Yes, if you look up real quick, Fallout, Equestria, Wiki, side stories. So if you look up here, you'll notice at the top there are 8 stories that are listed as major side stories, aka the Big 8. Not the Big 7 anymore, it's Big 8. You'll be able to scroll down and see those listed under major side stories: Project Horizons, Heroes, Pink Eyes, Dead Tree, Murky Number 7, Guys of Chaos, Better Days, and The Hooves of Fate. Put this book back before I break something else, or God, really. Mudrock, come on. I'm done with this. No, you're not really, but you know. Ah, for those of you who don't know, being an author, all sorts of other problems. All right, let's go over here and look over here on Twitch. Any Fallout Equestria stories I'd recommend other than the major ones? That's actually a good question. I would actually recommend Fallout Equestria Invictus. Invicta. This is by Forrest Rain, who has recently started rewriting. I would also recommend Chris. I would not necessarily recommend Chrysalis, but I know Final Sight would. I have my own reasons for that. But she has started writing again recently, and I hope to see it continue. Um, but it is actually genuinely a really, really nice story, and it's about a hippogriff, which, hippogriff, reasons. Maybe it's the bird, if you're over on Twitch right now. Maybe it's the bird reasons. Any other questions from Twitch? And I'll flip back over to Discord. Okay, no other questions on Twitch right now. Who is the best artist to get Fallout Equestria? Okay, not to toot my own horn, but the best artist is Buvani. There are other artists who are better, but at present those artists are unavailable for a variety of reasons. Um, the best artist I ever had personally was Ravage, but Ravage can't do art anymore due to a mental problem, and therefore you go with the next best. Now, to the thing I was going to announce today, can I upload an image to Discord? Um, this goes on sale next month for pre-orders. Size of the printing is going to be determined by how many people order it, but this is my last FOE book. This is the front cover. This is the first time I am publicly showing this front cover. I'm going to show it over on Twitch too. Give me a second, Twitch guys. I'm going to make a new slide and just insert it in. This is the new cover. And some of you may notice something at the bottom. The order of the editors is changed. Props Master is no longer my primary editor. He's had to step back because of his real life work and things he has to take care of. Chameleon is now my primary editor. When you have editors or you have extra artists or writers, you list them by order of importance. And it feels strange to be writing and not have that Props, who's been my editor for 8 years, working alongside me. But this is the front cover. And for those of you who are curious, over on FanFiction, if you look up Dead Tree, the first image in the book very first image. I'm changing topic after this. Like literally, I'm going to be changing over to the new topic. Is this. Now, question. What do you notice? Story's going to end where it began. Beginning and coming back to the end. And I think you'll all enjoy that. Anyway, that goes on sale on my website on May 1st. May 1st, we're going to start taking pre-orders. Publication date is Everfree Northwest. Assuming I'm accepted and everything is taken care of for me to be at Everfree Northwest on August 22nd, will be the day you can get your first actual physical copy. And the final chapter will not be released until after that weekend. So if you want the final chapter on release day, you will either have to be at Everfree or you will have to have done a pre-order copy because I intend to mail those pre-orders on Wednesday so that they arrive at they are arriving on the same day I'm doing release days at Everfree. So you will either have your pre-order copy in hand on Friday or you can show up at Everfree and pick it up in person. Um, but that's the goal. And in the meantime, I have a second panel to do. So we're going to get into that right immediately. Oh, yes, that is the yes, that is the disclaimer that we fit in as a joke. I have here's the link to my shop, but I do not have a price yet because we do not have a estimate from the book publisher yet, and that's because of the tariffs. Tariffs suck. Tariffs suck. We can all just agree on that. All right. So I'm going to close this out. Discard changes. Um, that went wonderful. Thank you. Now I'm going to be bringing up the other panel.